Hello, and welcome to this episode of Tripology. It's the backpacking podcast where two best friends call each other up once a week and talk about all of their travels. I'm Alan, and I'm here with one of the greatest travellers that exists on this sunny little globe we call Earth. It's the ever succulent Adam.
Alan, you're still in Tokyo. I'm now in the northeast of Thailand. I'm sunburnt, I'm hungover, and I've just had the spiciest papaya salad I've ever eaten.
Good lighting you've got, because you don't look sunburnt, you look positively vampiric.
Vampiric? Do I look radiant, do I?
Well, like, very light. You don't look like... You've not gone even an ounce of red. There's no rouge in your complexion.
Well, it is rainy season here, over in Thailand, so I'm able to dip and dive in between the shadows when I'm walking about. I'm not wearing much sun cream, which is probably a bad thing for me with
dodging
English
the
skin.
raindrops.
Something like that. But I have, if you could see the preparation for today's episode, I think you'd be proud of me, because I'm on maybe the hardest bed on planet Earth, and I've actually taken the fridge from the opposite side of the room and propped it up against the double doors that then go onto the balcony, so that I've got the natural light coming in, because I was a bit worried that the light inside the room wasn't strong enough.
Do you like a hard bed? Because when I was in a silent meditation retreat in the south of Thailand, I slept on a concrete bed with a wooden pillow. And
oh, yeah.
I actually found it to be quite a joy.
Yeah, I do like a hard bed. I'd always prefer a firm bed to a soft one. I think it's actually better for your back as well, isn't it?
It's better for you in a lot of ways, yeah. One of my very natural friends who uses I mean, you know who I'm talking about, straight away. I say I've got a natural friend. We're talking barefoot shoes. We're talking no synthetic chemicals or products. We're
Carnivore
talking
diet.
about sometimes I'll wear sunglasses and he'll say, don't wear sunglasses, they're bad for you. That's how natural he is. Even the plastic in the sunglasses shouldn't go anywhere near your face. It said that in an ideal world, he would just sleep on the floor.
Okay.
Every night.
I mean, what would that world need to look like that's so different from now? Because there are flaws.
There are flaws, yeah. And actually, he has slept on the floor in a room in which I was on the bed once before. When we were traveling through Turkey together, we stayed in a room with a double bed, and he said I would sooner sleep on the floor. And the only reason he doesn't do that in hostels is because he feels like it would be socially unacceptable to sleep on the floor when there's all the beds.
Yeah, arriving in a dorm. Do you want the top bunk or the bottom bunk? I'll actually take the floor, if you don't mind.
Do you think that's unacceptable?
To sleep on the floor?
Yeah.
No, I don't think you should even pay for a bed. Come on in.
If you were in a hostel and, like, let's say a 10-bed dorm room,
yeah,
and someone pitched up on the floor, what would your reaction to them be?
So, but hang on, they've paid for a bed, though. They are staying at the hostel. They're in the dorm.
Yeah, they've checked in. They're using their bed as a sort of luggage area.
Some sort of in-dorm storage facility for their belongings. Yeah. I'd ask them why, definitely. I'd question it.
Do you think it's inconveniencing you because you have to, like, step around them and you'd be like, just get on your bed, you annoying...
You're annoying, or you're going to say a nationality, right? Natural person. I would... it depends on the layout of the room, doesn't it? I mean, if they were sleeping... Maybe I'd say, why don't you sleep under your bed? You can have the bottom bunk and then you can just roll yourself under. That's convenient.
Yeah, because we all know that in the space underneath a 10-bed dorm room bed, there's never any condom wrappers, dust, hair, empty bottles. It's always clean as a whistle under there, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, just as we're talking about this wasn't going to be what we started with, but you have just, you've touched on something, so I may as well bring it up because I do think it makes for quite interesting discussion. I recently transited through Melbourne and I stayed in a very large hostel in the city centre. It was well equipped.
On the floor or in one of the beds?
I was in one of the beds. I was on the top bunk, right next to the door. Not the bed I would have chosen if I had first choice. It's actually the last bed I would have chosen, but it was the only one that was
you had
free.
last choice, didn't you?
What I would say about this hostel, and I am not going to name them because I'm not sure I'd recommend staying there out of all the hostels in Melbourne, is that it made me realise a couple of things, and I made some observations, and I thought, as we've got a travel show listened to by people who travel a lot and backpack and live in hostels, may as well talk about it. In this day and age, do you think it's unacceptable to charge people a lot of money for a dorm and then have absolutely no plug sockets or electricity anywhere near their bed?
I think it's unacceptable to charge people a lot of money for a dorm. I think hostels have got it right. They're living in a dream world.
They're taking the effing pee.
They are taking the effing pee at the moment, hostels. I really just think it's crazy how much they're charging. No, I'd say that good Wi-Fi and charging points are like really ubiquitous. Like they have to be a feature. They should be ubiquitous.
For every bunk.
I think it's pretty crazy when you all have to like put your phones on a table across the room. But I've been talking to some older backpackers recently about people who have been traveling in the early noughties before the internet became such a part of travel.
Yeah.
And it sounds divine.
Yeah.
They're like traveling and no one's on their phone, no one's on the smartphones. They're going into like a hostel and everyone's reading, like sharing ripped pages of The Lonely Planet and like just discussing, oh, have you been here? Have you been to this place? But there isn't like a set list of things that you have to have done because no one's going like top 5 things to do in Bolivia on a shoestring budget. It's all just like Lonely Planet and word of mouth. And people are missing things all the time, but talking and sharing and communicating and going off in groups and all that sort of stuff. It sounds amazing. I'm going to have to design an app that helps you do exactly that.
I had it out with a friend, actually. She doesn't listen to the show as often as, well, that would make me worry that she's going to hear this. But we were sending a few voice notes backwards and forwards. And we ended up talking about travel and what it's like these days. Because I was, Wat Arun, I think it's called. It's a big temple in Bangkok. I was there, and I will post this on Instagram. I deliberately took a long video to post on Instagram. All Thailand and all temples are nowadays in tourist attractions is just people taking photos. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And
it's people
insane.
Who aren't that interested in the temples, but they just know that they're supposed to go to the temples, so they go.
Totally. And this was exactly the nature of my voice note. I said, I'm not saying that I'm traveling better than anyone else or that I'm superior in any way or travel means more to me or whatever. I just think that in 10 or 20 years' time, these people will look back on their time in Thailand or their trip, wherever they went, and think, I don't know if I was really engaging with my environment. I don't know if I got as much out of that trip as I wanted to. I think that's probably how they're going to feel.
Yeah, they're like, what? Aaron? I've been there and I watched an elephant for a start.
But her point was, which kind of touches on yours, that
I hope so, if I'm lucky.
If people go travelling in 5 years' time or 10 years' time, maybe they'll land on an episode of Tripology and they'll think, fucking hell, where was this 5 years ago? Then they're not gonna compare their time now to a time before because they weren't able to travel before. Whereas we've been travelling for 12 years, so we know what it was like to travel 12 years ago. And we can say, oh, it was better then. People always say, oh, it was better before.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I've always said this thing that the golden age of travel was post really commonplace internet, so you could book hostels and find out the best things to do, pre the pandemic, when every fucker with a laptop decided that they were the world's best traveler and they were going to go and do that for the rest of their lives. But actually, maybe the golden age of travel was even before my time. Maybe I missed it. Maybe I'm a product of the silver age of travel. I'll never know because I simply can't travel without a phone. Like, try, honestly, if you were in Thailand now without a phone, you would find it really challenging, I think.
Yeah, I would.
And that's partly because of you and partly because now the infrastructure has evolved to the point where your life would just be really difficult not having a phone.
Well, I thought about sticking my thumb out earlier to hitchhike, and then it was just so much easier to get a Grab. And Grab is so amazing and it's so fun. And how fucking fun, by the way, is just riding on the back of a motorbike around Bangkok.
I love it.
The smile on my face. As there's not been a temple in the world that has made me smile like that.
Mate, riding on the back of it, honestly, is only surpassed by the experience of doing the exact same thing in an African city. Riding on the back of a motorcycle in Kampala is the greatest experience on earth. Doing that same thing in Vietnam and Thailand and all that stuff is like, it's almost as good. It's pretty fucking awesome. I have vehicular somnambulism. We've discussed that on the podcast a long time. It's a serious medical condition that involves when I'm in a moving vehicle, tires on tarmac, I find it very difficult to stay awake. I've fallen asleep on the back of a motorcycle several times.
That's crazy. But I did know that, but I didn't know it several times.
Yeah, a few times. The thing about vehicular somnambulism, feeling sleepy on vehicles, is that you want to fall forward.
You do want to fall forward, yeah. So what are you doing then? You're
Had
wearing a
both.
helmet now. So you've done both,
Yeah. I've fallen forward and headbutted the driver,
right?
which is bad but preferable. You smack the visor of your helmet into their back of their helmet, like headbutt them, like douche.
Yeah.
It's quite, so that's bad. And then I've done the other as well, though less frequently, where you fall back and you do like Neo from the Matrix in bullet time slow motion, where you like lean right back like that, but you're asleep.
Oh dear. I had a what? Then you just stay there and you went the rest of the journey, however long it was.
No, you wake up. You wake up when you go back that far. You like wake up.
Getting some winks in, getting your 80 bahts worth. God, it's still so cheap. But I had a bit of an awkward moment with a Grab driver earlier when he was sitting really far back on the motorbike and I didn't really have
you got an
enough
erection.
No, I didn't get an erection, but I was trying to shuffle him forward just using my... I did, because I was trying to hang on because I didn't have enough room and we were going quite fast down a motorway. And I was just very, carefully just trying to edge forward a little bit without it feeling like I was trying to,
You were humping him into the proper position.
Give me a bit more room.
Yeah, well, that is awkward. But he didn't respond.
No, it was great. I mean, he gave me a big high five at the end and all that sort of stuff. And
Discount. It's only 50 bahts.
I gave him a 5-star rating. So that was one of the observations I made, mate. Sorry, just to circle back to the original point, is that this hostel in Melbourne had no plug sockets at all, anywhere close to the top bunks. So everyone was sort of using extension cables and that sort of stuff, and everyone had to shove their stuff in the other corner by the door. And I don't know, it was just properly shit. The other thing is that if you are a hostel, if you're listening to this now and you run a hostel, and you
are a hostel, just a stationary building with headphones on, housing a bunch of people. Listen, if you're a hostel listening to this, why don't you recommend it to your owner so a human can actually send us an email?
That's it. When we have to give for brand deals and stuff, when we have to give our analytics, our data, we say we've got a big audience over in Thailand. It's actually just hostels, no people.
A couple of hostels listening.
So yeah, that's one of the observations. But if you're working for a hostel or you own a hostel or whatever, and as a marketing ploy to try and attract more attention, more business, you offer a free breakfast. You promote that you offer a free breakfast. And that free breakfast that you're offering is glow-in-the-dark, highly processed white bread and the worst peanut butter or jam or butter on earth.
Peanut butter.
if that is what... So I'm just so passionate about this that I can't even speak. Nothing to do with the alcohol consumed until the early hours. If that's what you're offering...
bread's bad, you should look at the ingredients of that butter.
Yeah. Then basically, if that's what you're offering as a free breakfast, you can go and fuck yourself, in my opinion.
Yeah, so you're in Southeast Asia now. It's been like a long time since I was in the Philippines. I was going to say it's been a long time since I've been in Southeast Asia, and then I realised that I spent all of last year in Southeast Asia. But it's been a decade since I was in Thailand.
Yeah.
I remember fondly, these are the breakfasts. You'll get a little filter coffee, sort of in a pour, or maybe even just instant.
Yeah.
You'll get white bread, like really white, as you say, glow in the dark, radioactive white bread.
Never goes off.
Yeah. Shelf life of, I reckon there's still some of the bread that I was served to me 10 years ago going.
Yeah, still hanging around.
There's a strawberry jam.
Yeah, there's often, in these sometimes huge industrial sized pots.
There's 3-ingredient peanut butter.
3-ingredient peanut butter?
Yeah, it's peanuts.
Yeah.
It's
palm oil.
Sugar.
Yeah.
And palm oil.
Yeah. The texture, the consistency of this stuff, I fucking hate it. I really hate the fact. I'm not saying if you enjoy a breakfast like that and you're in Southeast Asia, I do think you've got some questions to answer.
You've got some growing up to do, haven't you?
Yeah. If you are offering that as a serious sort of breakfast offer, where you're saying to people, look, you should stay at my hostel because you do get a free breakfast. Because you're kind of like dangling the carrot, aren't you? And then you get up in the morning, you think, oh, the breakfast served from between 7 and 10 down in the main room. I'll go down there. And you just see a queue of backpackers trying to toast their white bread in one of those flimsy toasters. And they're all just accepting that that's a breakfast. It's worth nothing. So don't promote your hostel by using that.
There are people right now watching this on Instagram who are thinking, I love going to Thailand because of the 7-Eleven sandwiches and the free shitty breakfasts at the hostels. Go and eat a papaya salad, you twat.
Yeah, do. You've got to do that. That's anyone who replaces their morning meal when they're in Southeast Asia by that free breakfast. I feel sorry for you because
and a 7-Eleven sandwich often, right? A grilled cheese sandwich from 7-Eleven.
Yeah, well, you bring me on to my next anecdote, mate, because I did have a little story at the beginning. Maybe we'll chop that into the Lost and Found section. The link is in the description. It is quite funny. Maybe the funniest plane passenger I've ever sat next to in my life was from Queenstown.
All right, yeah, let's hear that on Patreon. That sounds good.
To Melbourne. My God, she was an absolute character. So if you want to hear
and
that
it was
story,
a girl. Patreon, yeah, you've got to get over to Patreon. For as little as the price of a 7-Eleven sandwich, you can hear Adam tell you about a girl,
a woman
on a plane. Let's say girl on a plane. I'm not saying it gets all crazy and wild, but the air hostesses do have beds on those planes.
Yeah, I wonder, right, what can I say to dangle the carrot now?
Just that. Say that there was carrot dangling going on. People would be there.
Yeah, there was some, I wish, it smelled like there were. But anyway, I'll leave that to the Patreon section. Yeah, it was awful, mate. It was funny because I was making light of the situation, but it was an awful position to be in.
I don't know what's going on. I'm glad that I get Patreon for free.
The tussle for the window seat is worth hearing alone. But what you'll be pleased to know, mate, because this is going to be a bit of a food-heavy episode now. I think we're already about 20 minutes in and there's still about 20 minutes of content. So let's start ripping through it, shall we?
Speaking of food heavy, I'm starting a career as a sumo wrestler here in Japan. That'll be in next week's Patreon.
I went to, because we're talking about backpackers and their food choices and this sort of stuff, I thought, what can I do in Thailand that I haven't done before that would be giving my trip more purpose? We always talk about, learning things when you travel. I thought, fucking hell, Adam, you haven't ever done a cooking course in your whole life.
Yeah, I've never done one either, but they're a very popular activity in Thailand. I would say washing an elephant, like taking a picture with a heavily sedated tiger, cooking course.
Cooking course, yeah.
In that order.
Not exploiting many animals at a cooking course, I don't think.
Yeah, I've had such a busy day. I washed an elephant, I took a picture with a tiger, and I cooked a fucking
Bad time.
noodles.
But it's a good thing I am really, really interested in Thai food. It is up there in my top probably 5 cuisines. And my favourite dish of all time comes from Thailand. Well, Laos, technically. But who's splitting hairs? So I thought, go and do a cooking course, get online, all the websites, get your guide, or some other ones that we could name. But booked it only a couple of days before. And it comes with a market tour. So you can actually get there at sort of 8:45, 9 in the morning at whichever train station they mention in Bangkok. You're met by the chef, and then there's a little group of tourists, go out for the morning, half an hour, 45 minutes, walking through the market, getting all the local ingredients that you're going to use to cook these 4 dishes that were on that day's menu. And then you get a little tuk-tuk all the way back to the cooking school, and then you just spend the next 3 or 4 hours cooking and eating. It's absolutely magic.
That's cool. That's a nice touch, actually, that they take you to the market.
Yeah, I deliberately did the morning tour because that includes the market. Now, what was funny was the fact that, I guess because it's low season, maybe it was a last minute thing, I was only with 2 other people. So it was pretty private. It was just 3 of us and the chef. Amazing.
Now, describe the other 2 people to me.
I will, because that's what this story is about. They were...
In that case, cut that out.
They were a curious couple. He was probably 50, I would say, and she was maybe in her early 20s.
Oh, they're together?
Well, they looked so different that I assumed they weren't, but then they told me later on that they were. They're from California, although he was the sort of guy, and I want to get this right because I don't want to say anything negative, but it was quite bizarre.
They were an age discordant couple, though.
Yeah, and she, aesthetically, very pretty, gothic, heavily gothic, not wearing the sort of outfit you might expect to see in 30-degree, humid, rainy season Bangkok. It was jet black everything, chains, the lot.
Well, I have to say, it's very lovely that you've chosen to date me, a much older man. What is it that you're into? Oh, I'm into gothic stuff, creatures of the crypt, gargoyles, vampires, things that are basically dead, that sort of thing.
big. I see where you're going with that. Big black boots with silver buckles on, and it was a look. It was a strong look. And he was just like a pretty normal guy, bit larger than life character, pretty open. And everywhere that he had been recently, he was there just hanging out. I couldn't get that was the exact words. The chef said, where were you living then? You also living in California? Yeah, I mean, I was in San Francisco. I was just hanging out. And then before that, I was in Mexico. I was just hanging out in Mexico. And he reeled off loads of different countries, but he was just hanging out there. It's just a guy who hangs out.
Cool.
He was cool. He was good fun. And they met only a couple of weeks before in San Francisco in a shared living sort of arrangement. And now they were both here.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, I probably won't ask too many questions. I'll just get on with it and let my imagination run wild.
Stop it there. Yeah, just start thinking about it in private.
And what was amazing was that we were sort of chatting, in the market to find out a little bit about each other, what you're doing here, where you've been, all this sort of thing. And she made it quite clear, the young gothic girl, that she wasn't enjoying the market and that the smell repulsed her. So
where's she from, the gothic girl, sorry?
Also California.
Okay, yeah. She was like...
You can't do it. We're already getting cancelled.
She was like, oh my God, this market is like so normie.
What does normie mean?
Like not gothic, the opposite of gothic. Normie, like it's just too basic. She wanted like gargoyles and pins and needles.
Yeah, I think they're gamers actually. Maybe that's quite on brand. But just picture this though. We're in a market on the outskirts of Bangkok. It is sweltering at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, and we are with a chef from Thailand going around the market collecting ingredients to cook 4 local dishes, like in a cooking school. And she looked so out of place. It was hilarious. Everything she looked at almost made her vomit. She was like, anyone listening to this show who's been to a market in, somewhere in Asia would know the sort of things that you're going to see. I wouldn't say it's confronting, but it's pretty confronting if you're like a vegetarian or vegan for ethnic reasons.
Sometimes you'll see like a tortoise with the shell removed, that kind of thing.
That'd be pretty confronting, but there's often lots of different seafood and sea life, fish and whatever still flapping around and things you haven't seen before.
Maybe I'm prejudiced and a bigot, but I'd have thought a goth would be quite into that. Macabre and dark.
Yeah, but it was also her first time out of the States. She'd never been away before and maybe just hadn't been exposed to that. But the dishes we were cooking had some of those ingredients in, so we had to go and like speak to the vendors for a long time, and she couldn't even look. She was like covering her eyes and this sort of stuff. I thought, fucking hell, here we go. And then she didn't talk that much actually, but then the American guy said to the chef, oh, just so you know, I eat everything and I'm happy with all of the things we're cooking today, but she doesn't
only drinks the blood of her victims.
No, get this right. Just remind yourself, guys, that we are on a cooking course in Bangkok. And he said, yeah, she doesn't eat any fish or any seafood or any mushrooms, and she doesn't like spicy food. But apart from that, she'll eat anything. And then she said...
Did he look proud when he said that? She'll eat anything.
I was just thinking, okay, well, good on you, girl, for, I don't know. But we had to basically change the menu as a result. So we still got like substitutes and that sort of stuff, and we still did things that were quite close, but because of the fact she couldn't eat whatever.
You'd have been livid, wouldn't you?
I mean, ours was still pretty close to the same thing. It was just the other things that had to be chopped in for her and what have you, which was totally fine. But she didn't just like not like mushrooms. I mean, she actually It was almost like she would have an allergic reaction. I'm sure she's not allergic, but do you know what I mean? It was like, they absolutely
like
cannot
weather
be
balloon.
anywhere near my food.
You don't want this girl to consume a mushroom within 50 feet of you guys. It's fucking not pretty.
But then we did get on, by the way. I shouldn't joke about it like that, because we did
If she eats a portobello, evacuate the area.
But it was the whole like no seafood or fish thing. That is debilitating. That is changing your trip around Asia, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Fish sauce. Is there any fish sauce in that? You fucking bet there is. Oh,
yeah.
You can't eat anything then. But we ended up cooking 4 dishes together. Really, really cool.
They all taste celiac as well. Couldn't eat the gluten in the noodles.
No. I think that was pretty much it. Otherwise,
you'd starve, wouldn't you?
Fair game. There was a lot of jokes going backwards and forwards between them, actually. Like, he wasn't really doing anything and she was doing all the chopping, and jokes were being made about the dynamic by the chef as well, and all this kind of thing. So
you guys are really different ages.
Yeah, just saying straight down the line, just saying what everyone's thinking. Is this
sex must be disgusting?
No. But I didn't tell him about the show specifically so that I could talk about him. Does that make me a bad person? Maybe.
No, I do it all the time. I've been 6 months into a relationship with someone and I've not told them about the show, so I can talk about them in Patreon.
Oh, yeah. So, Adam, what do you do for a living? Not run a travel podcast, that's for sure.
Don't Google me.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
We ended up cooking a tom yum soup. Beautiful, lovely soup, pretty spicy, kind of defined by its like fresh sort of acid and spice flavors. I had a fucking amazing one the day before, so I was super excited to cook it. But it does have things like prawns and mushrooms in often.
Yeah.
So, pretty difficult to sort of navigate around that. And we were told that if you wanted it really spicy, you should use 4 chilies. So there was a bowl of chilies that were being passed around the group.
So you put 5 in, didn't you?
Oh, what'd you say? How many? How many for really spicy?
And then you turned around to the guy and went, I just put 5 in. Did you hear? He said, put 4 in if you want it really spicy. I put 5 in.
No, he only put 2 in, and one of them was green. So he left them big as well. She said, if you want your food ripping hot, chop them nice and small. If you want just a little bit of that chili heat in there, just keep them nice and big, and then you can take them out afterwards. So I put 4 chilies in, not thinking too much of it, because I'd already told her I really like spicy food. I eat chili all the time. And then
he does. And
then the goth girl, she also took 4 fucking massive chilies, and I thought fair fucking play. Almost like making me recalibrate. I'm thinking, do I need to maybe take a 5th and a 6th? But she took 4 really big ones and then sort of made a joke about it to me, like, you only taken 4 of you? Oh yeah. Oh, I've taken 4 as well. She'd already said she doesn't like spicy food. I was like, she's like trying to mug me off in front of the chef. Okay, fair enough. Yeah. And then we made this.
I think that Adam guy might be a bit of a wimp. He's only taken very small. Barely put a dent in the chili supply we bought at the market.
Oh, yeah, we ended up making the soup, and then when we got back to the table, she said, "Would you like to taste my soup?" And I think that's. I looked at her, the other guy. I was like, "Can I?" No.
Yeah. Sorry, you guys are together.
Yeah, what's going on here? And then because of the way she'd been about food and stuff, I thought it was quite strange that she just openly offered that. And I said, yeah, go on then. Yeah, I will. And when I went to pick up her spoon, she said, no. I prefer that you pour from my spoon into your spoon. And then you can
Don't touch me with your mushroom spoon.
No, I was just going to use her spoon. I thought, okay, fair play.
Oh, and put it in your mouth.
Well, I think she just lured me into a false sense of security. I thought, it's like quite an open thing to do. And
that's what goths do.
COVID's fucking years ago. No one gives a shit anymore, do they? We're all past that.
But vampires, they lull you, don't they? Oh, use my spoon.
It was pretty nice. I think mine was better. I adjusted it with a little bit of lime, like a wanker. And then we got to the end of the soup, and I was sweating my tits off. Mine was so fucking hot, I could not believe it. And she was over the other side of the table, happy as Larry. I was like...
Yeah, because she's a goth, so she's got so much white face paint on, probably. It's like talcum powder. It's absorbing all the sweat.
But the bloke was like, oh my God, you're sweating much more than she is. You can't handle your spice at all. Making all these jokes. And she was like, yeah, I can't believe that you even felt those chilies. I looked at my bowl, completely empty. Looked in her bowl, full of chilies. She didn't even... She's only drunk the soup, had she? No mushrooms.
Goth girl.
Can't believe it. Absolutely.
Goth girl. avoiding the chilies.
And then, yeah, there is quite a funny end to that story, actually. Sorry to dangle another carrot, but I'll tell that in Patreon as well. Absolutely.
No, tell that bit now. Come on.
Really? Oh, but it's embarrassing, though. Okay. Shall I?
Okay. All right. No, tell it over in Patreon.
No, okay, I will tell it because it's unfair otherwise.
Give the fans something for free.
Yeah, the end of that, you'll know this. If you're a long-time listener of the show, guys, there was an episode where we spoke about being in India and eating Indian food and the difference in terms of the physiological reaction you have when you eat Indian food. The fact that, and in Mexico it's the same thing, for me anyway, you can eat something and almost within a minute need to go to the toilet. It is so fast. And I guess I just... Yeah, I guess. Oh, the bum gun's back, mate. I'm absolutely loving the fact I've got access to a bum gun. So anyway, the course finished. You know, everyone shook hands. Nice to meet you. Enjoy the rest of your time here. Blah, blah, blah. And I said, oh, do you mind if I just use the loo? And they were like, no problem at all. The loo, unfortunately, was right next to the kitchen, the main kitchen, where all the other chefs are like preparing food for the next class who's coming in. So there's lots of lovely Thai women who were just knocking about in the kitchen right outside the door, and I knew what was coming. I was like, oh God. So I nipped into the loo, and I'll spare you the details, but let's just say it was a rather explosive reaction.
But here's the picture.
And have you ever, this is so gross, anyone just like skip forward 15 seconds if you don't want to hear this, but have you ever been in a situation where you're trying to like temper the pressure almost?
I'm very anally retentive. I never have diarrhea apart from that one time on a Brazilian bus.
Never.
That's the only time I've ever done that.
You're not eating enough.
I was disgusted at myself.
It was crazy. I mean, I was bracing myself, almost like holding onto the rim of the toilet and just trying to ever so slightly manage what was coming through.
Reduce the velocity.
Yeah, because it was making so much noise in an otherwise really quiet sort of apartment, this converted apartment and I just thought, God, these people outside are going to think awful things. It was so fucking embarrassing, mate. I was in there for probably 20 minutes and not succeeding at all to drown out the sound. I basically started playing like sounds I'm watching reels on my phone really loud and stuff. And then quickly skedaddled out of there with my head down, not making eye contact. All right, thanks, bye, see you later. Yeah, cheers, 5 stars, thanks. And that was it. But it was an amazing day. I would highly recommend doing a cooking course, honestly. If you're interested, I can't believe it took me this fucking long. It's ridiculous. I'll probably do another one when I go back to Bangkok next week.
Well, we should do one together sometime.
Yes.
For whatever reason, we have a surprise for you next week, perhaps. Maybe we'll do a cooking course together.
It's not your birthday coming up by any chance, is it?
You guys have to wait and see what happens next week. Now, though, it's the Patreon section. If you want to hear it, click a link. Do it. I'll wait. Go and do it. Click the link. It's in the show notes. See you there. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
Thanks ever so much for your support, guys. We'll see you next time. Loads of love. Bye-bye.